If I had never met a Christian, I might be one. It's a sentiment that was shared uh, with me by a friend of mine who used to be an ordained minister, and someone approached him with that, saying, um, when you're talking about borderline personality and faith, um, it's difficult. Um, Not that people with borderline personality disorder can't have faith. Some of them probably have a stronger faith than most. But our faith has had to evolve over time in order to challenge the turmoils we've had to face and try to overcome. And it, for many, whether you have borderline personality or not, it causes you to have very different interpretations and very different ways in which you express your faith. Myself, as an example, I don't believe in an all-powerful or all-knowing or all-present God. I believe that we all have our own power as well. We have the power to deny or to embrace our Savior. Half the time I don't even know what I'm going to do, so it'd be impossible for him to know what I'm going to do. Well, not impossible. We're not really that unique, but there are times, if there wasn't some way for each of us to break free of what we've been given, then there wouldn't be any point in us being here. And there is sufficient evidence that the Spirit comes and goes. And I don't believe in trying to convert people. I believe that God has his ways. I believe that we should attempt to follow our Savior to the greatest extent that we can. However, I acknowledge that I'm not him. So part of me, I can only be me. And I can only do as I would do. And that's in no way a reflection of him. Sometimes it's a reflection of myself. Maybe sometimes not even that. It's hard to tell sometimes. But the point is, you end up with things like that. Places other people just nod their heads in agreement. you kind of have to find your way through the muck before it starts to make sense. And even then, it'll often lead you to a unique perspective. How does one honor their father and mother if they are behaving dishonorably? If they dishonor themselves, if they dishonor you, their family, some impossible situations. In Christian circles, and that's what I'm going to comment on mostly because I really have very little religious contact, though I've spiritually participated in multiple faiths. Within the Christian faith, there is a very noteworthy tendency of trying to ignore mental illness or neglect in their followers. It's as though they understand that it's there because they don't know how to work with it. They choose to hand out a sort of one-size-fits-all style answer, sermon, whatever. Sadly, most people with mental illness are going to suffer a lot of brick walls. We're not going to have spent our whole lives in one church, probably. And as such, very few of us ever will achieve higher ranks within any given church. Yes, we simply won't be trusted. Even if we were to spend our entire lives in such an environment, the unique perspectives that come to our minds that help us to find peace would probably never be condoned by the church. And I think we lose a lot from that. We lose the perspective of people who have been there, some of which are still going through it, some of which have found their way through it and are now on the other end and saying, hey, I'm willing to work with you, I'm willing to help you, but you gotta want it enough to leave what you consider essential behind and embrace a new way of thinking. Not necessarily my way, but just a new way of thinking, one that allows you to grow, beyond where you found yourself boxed in. And we avoid topics that could be very meaningful, topics that we fill in with imagination and suggestion rather than actually discussing or researching or whatever, because it's just sort of taboo. But a lot of these things can be very important. A lot of these insights can be really important. So, I think we need to try to do better in our faiths, to understand that when we don't see eye to eye, doesn't mean the other person is wrong. But maybe we can try to learn from each other a little more from what the other side has glimmered, and hopefully come to appreciate one another more. That's it. See you in the next video.